of this Power Up Your Credentials series. My name is Risha Tony. I am your moderator for today, and I'm the the recruitment coordinator in student mobility and pathways. And it's my pleasure to be here and moderating this session. So to get started, I'm going to do a brief overview, and what starts off that overview is a quick video about bringing it to Humber.
And all that makes you, you to Humber. And we'll prepare you to reach your full potential. Apply now at humber.ca/bringit. We are Humber.
So what I like about that video actually just gives you some snippets of some of like the campuses, some labs, etc. It's very quick, but I think it actually does a great job of showcasing the campuses. So we are one of the largest colleges in Canada. We have close to 30,000 full-time students across 3 campuses. We have our North Campus, which is at 27 in Finch. We have our Lakeshore Campus, which is at Kipling and Lakeshore, and we also have a downtown IGS campus as well. All campuses are accessible by TTC, so our transit system, and also accessible by our highways and byways as well. So let's talk a little bit more about the North Campus. This campus is located, as mentioned before, at Highway 27 in Finch, has about 20,000 or close to 21,000 full-time students. There are residents for about 1,000 students, and these buildings that you see on the left are our residences. And one of the things I love about this campus, and I go there all the time over the over the summer, is our 250-acre parkland called the Humber Arboretum. So it's just a beautiful space. The trees, there's trails, there's the Humber River running through. There's ponds out there, and sometimes you walk by and you see the little turtles, you see birds, you see cranes. Like, it's just gorgeous. And our landscaping students are working out there. Like, it's just beautiful. So if you've ever had the opportunity to come to the North campus, please make sure you check this out and utilize this green space that we have right here in our backyard. And then we have our Lakeshore campus, which is at Kipling and Lakeshore. This campus has about 12,000 full-time students. It has residence for 400 students, but this is going to be increasing starting soon once our cultural hub actually opens. And one thing I love about this campus is well, there's a few things, but one of the things I love about this campus is that it's nestled beside Lake Ontario. So you can actually just behind these trees take a walk down the trail, and at one point there's like an opening and you can see like the skyline of downtown Toronto. It's just, again, gorgeous. So both campuses are great. They have a different feel, different vibe to them, but again, they're unique in their own way. And it's just a really, really good space to be in. So some fast facts about Humber. So I mentioned that we have about 30,000 full-time students across 200 programs, but we also have about 300,000 alumni. So Humber has been around since about 1967 or so a while. So we have alumni that are not only here in Canada, but around the world as well. As mentioned, 200 programs in 17 areas of interest and over 150 pathways from Ontario graduate certificates to master's programs at partner institutions. So hopefully we'll be discussing some of this or some of those pathways as well later on. And more than 45% of incoming students have previous education or experience. And this is important to know because I'm sure for our guests that are here today or those who are attending, that's you already have some experience or you have some education, and now you're looking to continue your study here with us at Humber. So we're happy to have you with us. So what do we offer? We offer many different credentials. So we have 1-year certificates, 2- and 3-year diplomas and advanced diplomas, apprenticeships, and these can be 2 to 5 years in length depending on the trade, 4-year bachelor's degrees, and then a 1 to 2-year Ontario graduate certificates. So again, this is sort of what we're here to talk about today, these graduate certificates. And I just took a screen grab from the website, and we have about 55 programs at the moment. And again, that fluctuates, it increases, decreases depending on the job market, job trends. If there are new trends that are coming out where their jobs and programs are needed, and sometimes programs or trends are decreasing and jobs aren't there anymore. So we're always making sure that we're keeping our programs up to date. So that's it for my overview. And with that, I'm going to ask our program coordinators to join us on screen. And we're going to dive into these 2 amazing programs. And I'll start with question number 1. And maybe, David, I'll start with you. Can you please tell us a little bit more about yourself and about the program you're here to represent today?
Sure, thank you. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming today. My name is David Miller, and I am the program coordinator and also a professor in the Professional Writing and Communications Graduate Certificate. We're a program that prepares students for careers as professional writers or freelancers or communication specialists in private, public, non-for-profit organizations. We cover things like corporate communications, media writing, social media management, SEO. We also look at sort of foundational skills like storytelling, storytelling across multiple platforms. We do audience analysis, editing, pitching, interviewing, etc. Our program is a 2-semester in-class program with a 3rd semester that is a full-time work placement. And we are located at the beautiful Lakeshore campus. So thanks again for having me today.
Great. Thank you so much, David. And Lisa, welcome.
Thanks, Risha. Yeah, it's great to be here today. So I am Elisa York, and I am a professor and the program coordinator for the Graduate Certificate in Creative Writing, which is an online 2-semester graduate certificate. And it's a really special program. What we do is we pair writers who are working on a book-length project with a professional writer to work through that project with them. So really the program consists of exchanges between you and your mentor, supported by self-directed learning resources that are available on Blackboard. But really the program it's modeled on a writer-editor kind of a relationship. So you're learning to improve your writing overall, and you're doing so always through the focus of your own project. We are, as I said, entirely online. So I'm based at the Lakeshore and I work from home an awful lot of the time, but I can also attest to the gorgeousness of the Lakeshore. And the north is lovely too. I love the
Yes.
Arboretum as well.
Yes, I love the lake in the summer. All right, question number 2. And Lisa, I'll start with you. Can you tell us a little bit more about who is an ideal candidate for your program? But also, once they've completed the program, who's successful? Who actually succeeds in the field?
I would say that our ideal candidates, as I mentioned, are people working on book-length projects. Sometimes people are interested in the program, but they might have, 3 or 4 smaller projects on the go, and then maybe our summer workshop might be of more interest to them. But once you're getting going on your book-length project, so it might be a novel, it might be a memoir, it might be another work of creative nonfiction, it might be a collection of poetry or short stories, it might even be a full-length stage play. But once you're getting going on that, and you want that close one-to-one mentorship experience, that's who is ideal for our program. Now, sometimes people have got to start on the program, on the project. Sometimes they're really just getting going. It's an intensive program, so you need time to work. However, people do it while working at jobs and meeting other commitments. Other people will have a full draft, and they'll be coming into the program to work on the second draft and bring it up to the next level. And I would say the people who are the most successful in the program are the people who do the work, who respond to the feedback that they receive on every round of feedback and apply it forward. That's where we see the greatest improvement. And really, when it comes to having your work published in the world, the very first thing you need to do is to write the best book you possibly can. And that's what we're here to help with.
Perfect. Thank you. And David, what about you? What's the ideal candidate for your program, and what do they need to, or who do they need to be successful?
Yeah, I think one thing I like to always lead with is that I think to come into our program, you really have to have a passion for storytelling. And I like to bring that up because I think sometimes people see professional writing and they think, oh, dry brochure writing or technical writing. And while that's
That's what
certainly
I thought.
yeah, and certainly that's a small aspect of our program. But we teach like a variety of things, and we teach like storytelling across multiple platforms, sometimes for corporate purposes, sure, but they still need to be compelling narratives, right? We still need to tell compelling stories. And I think that that's a key, and one thing I think that people misinterpret about our program. But I do think that it is important not only to be able to tell stories, but to have a certain level of precision in your ability to do so. I think having a real eye for detail, a strong editorial focus, I think is something that's really important for our candidate students as well. And in terms of success, I think the students who are most successful are the ones who really hustle, to use that term, right? Because we have a lot of our graduates go on to become freelancers. And so the ability to find work, to continuously be looking for work and shifting in what they're doing, right? So managing social media for one client while writing proposals and grants for another client. So the ability to shift and to do a lot of things really well. Those are the candidates that we have that are most successful. Although I should also point out that we do have students who just are happy to move into a corporate communication gig, right? We had a student recently who became a social media manager a communications manager at Royal Bank, right? And she's content to have that job and to kind of work her way through that system as well. But yeah, I think hustle, eye for detail, precision, and a passion for storytelling.
Thank you. So next question, and I'll start with you, David. How does this program compare to other programs, whether it's at Humber, at other colleges, other universities? What makes this program different?
Well, I think that the two main differentiators with our program and with the others, because there are similar programs, I don't think there are any programs quite like ours in the province, but the two differentiators are that we work with a lot of live clients. So for example, our project management course, we actually have our students working with a nonprofit to develop communications projects and strategies throughout the program. And our work placement, it's the best work placement out of any of the professional writing postgrads in the province. It is full-time, 12 weeks, over 400 hours. And the vast majority now, over 2/3 of our work placements, I think our current work placement, it's nearly 75%, our current group of students are getting paid to do that work placement. So I think those are the two big differentiators. When we do talk to students coming into our program, those are often the things that get mentioned as to why they chose us.
Great, thank you. And Elisa, what makes our program different from others that might be out there, the creative writing program?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned before that it's really about focusing on your project and working with your mentor in a close one-to-one mentorship. So that's the first big differentiator. But really, I would say, building on that it's the quality of the mentors. We are lucky to have a fantastic stable of mentors with incredible writing chops and writing resumes and teaching. And I mean, we also have a wide range of mentors. So when people apply, that we ask them to list their top 4 choices for mentor. And then we do our best to, and usually can, match them with one of the top 2. And that's important because we have a wide range of mentors working in a wide range of forms. So that's a really great thing that we offer that choice. And I guess I would say, yeah, there's that. The other great thing about it is we have mentors who've been with us for a long time and have that tremendous background in the mentoring aspect. And we also are always bringing in new mentors because we've got an eye on, trends in the writing community. And we're bringing in people who are doing well, who are writing in forms that are becoming more popular and so on. So it's always that we have both, right? We have the people who've been here and have all that experience. We also are bringing in fresh mentors.
Okay, great. So this is also a great question, and even for me as a recruiter going out and talking to students and hoping to sort of, tell them more about our programs. What are some myths and misconceptions that people may have about the industry or about the program? And Elise, I'll start with you for this one.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned earlier, that the first thing you need to do is write the best book you can. And that really is true. So I would say some students come into the program thinking, okay, I'm going to learn everything I need to know, and I'm going to publish right away with absolutely no problem, and then I'm going to be a bestseller. Now, we have many of our alumni have published. It's over 300 by now. It must be getting close to 400. And many of them do very well. But it's challenging. It's challenging to publish, and it takes a lot of work. And it takes learning about how it works too. So I would say the biggest misconception or myth is that it's easy. It's not easy, but we give you a really solid grounding in how to improve your project and improve your writing and continue improving your writing beyond the program itself. And then also I mentioned all of those self-directed learning resources that are there. So we have all kinds of videos from our summer workshop where you can watch panels with agents and publishers. And if you are willing to get in there and look into all of those materials, you can also come out of the program with a huge amount of knowledge about how the industry and community work. And that's really important too.
Great. David, I think you mentioned some of them at the beginning, but please feel free to expand on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I did mention that people think of us as like sort of dry, technical corporate writing, and we're trying to teach away from that, right? We're trying to teach good writing. But I think we do touch a lot on, because we produce a lot of freelancers, we touch a lot on magazine writing, for example, which I think is one thing that people don't think of when they think of professional writing. But we do have a course in, excuse me, in storytelling and narrative, where we talk about writing long form pieces. So students who graduate from our program don't just go on to work in corporate or nonprofit settings. They also write for magazines, write for websites like formerly like BuzzFeed, but also magazines like Exclaim, The Daily Hive, etc. So we do produce working sort of long form pseudo journalism style writers as well.
Great, thank you. So next question, David, I'll start with you. I'm sure at times you have people who may not have the credential they need to get into this program because it is a graduate certificate. You might have them come to you and say, I'm sorry, Simran she has people applying to this program wanting to write. So if a student doesn't have the credential, they're coming from high school, which program or programs would be a good fit, or does it matter?
I mean, it doesn't matter all that much, but I do notice that students who, for example, come in with a background in a writing heavy program, like journalism, like public relations, or creative marketing or advertising, those students have a tendency to maybe advance more quickly, right? Because they already have the sort of foundation around storytelling, around editing, around copywriting even. So students who come in with writing heavy undergrads tend to do quite well in our program.
And from a university standpoint, mass communications.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of others. Okay, great.
Journalism.
But it doesn't journalism, but it doesn't have to be, because I think when we've in the previous sessions, you said you've had people from engineering backgrounds, different backgrounds sort of coming in as well.
Yeah, no, we do. We're pretty open about that. But I noticed that there's just more of a learning curve. For example, usually around the fundamentals.
Right.
So they have to brush up a bit on their maybe their grammar and their proofreading skills.
Having to use those since grade 12. Well, Elisa, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely welcome people to the program from all kinds of backgrounds. So, yes, it's a graduate certificate, so you need to have that diploma or degree. However, we have people whose diploma is, I mean, anything you can imagine. So we have people coming who have worked as engineers, as you mentioned, doctors, lawyers, homemakers, um, everything in between. Really, when it comes to our program, the biggest consideration is the writing sample, and after that, the cover letter. Like once you have, um, once you can meet that academic requirement, we're really looking at your writing, and we're looking at your cover letter for, what are you hoping to work on in the program? What has writing, uh, what role has writing had in your life? What kind of writing have you been doing? What does writing mean to you? That sort of thing.
Okay, great. So next question, and I think Elisa, you've touched on this already, delivery mode and flexible options. Is there any other pieces you wanted to add for this section?
I would just say that most of the exchanges that happen between, some people think that there are going to be many, many, many online meetings. It's not really that. As I say, it's based on an editor-writer kind of relationship. So you are sending by email attachment your submissions to your mentor, and they are going through those submissions with a fine-tooth comb and coming back to you with their feedback, their substantive feedback, and then their more direct notes on the file itself. And people do have meetings by phone or video calls, but it's not the primary mode. The mode really is the exchanging back and forth. So that is as asynchronous as it gets, right? We have people who like to write in the middle of the night, write first thing in the morning, whatever works for you. And everybody works out their individual schedule with their mentor. So you come into the program, your mentor gets in touch, you set up your schedule, you set up how you're going to work together. And basically you're just aiming for meeting, you're coming in between the minimum and maximum requirements for getting that book length project done. So say you were working on a novel, over the course of the 2 semesters, you're going to cover 150 double space pages to 300 double space pages with your mentor. And a book of poetry is about half that, and so on. So really you think in terms of, we're going to get through this book length project together.
Perfect, great. And David, what's the delivery mode for the professional writing program?
Yeah, right now we are purely in person at the Lakeshore campus. As I mentioned, we have 2 intakes in September and January. And we run classes on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So we do try to give a little bit of freedom there. But I'm actually, I don't even know, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. We've just been given permission and funding to begin to develop an online version of this course, this program. We're very excited. We're beginning the course development in the winter in January, and we're hoping to launch in January 2025. So anyone who is interested in an online version of the Professional Writing Communications program, keep your eyes open for that.
Great, that's awesome.
That is
Thanks.
great. I just want to add as well, you reminded me there, David, we also have 2 intakes, one in September and one in January. And so they each run for 2 consecutive semesters.
Perfect. So a question that a student had in a previous session was, if I start in January, can I do semester 2 in fall? No, usually it's 2 consecutive semesters that you're taking part. Yeah, perfect.
We have worked one-on-one with students to put together part-time plans. Because we do have and that's different, I think, from Elisa's program, but we, because we do run so many different semesters, we can work with students to develop plans to extend the amount of time they take to do the program.
Perfect. That's great. That's really great to know. Okay, so David, I'll start with you for this one. Can you talk about placement opportunities? Because I think at the beginning you mentioned that the last semester, the 3rd semester of this program, is the placement. So can you tell us a little bit more? Where are students working? What are they doing?
Yeah.
Money.
So yes. Well, as I mentioned, right now we're running about 75% of some kind of compensation. So it could be hourly, it might be honorarium or stipend based. And I think that the diversity of our placement partners that we've worked with speak to the diversity of students and the interests of our students. So we've had students and have students working in magazines, for example, like Exclaim and Cottage Life and Today's Parent. But at the same time, we have students working in corporate situations, like at Royal Bank, as I mentioned earlier, but at different PR companies as well. And then we also have students who are working in the nonprofit sector. So we have a student at like East End Arts, for example. We've had students at Right to Play, Forests Ontario, and Mental Health Research Canada is one of our nonprofit hosts as well. So that really, I think, speaks to those three sort of directions that our students usually go in: the corporate, the nonprofit, and then the magazine or editorial.
Perfect. Thank you. And Elisa, as mentioned before, your program it's different. It's not a typical program. So I'm not sure. How does placement opportunities, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have any kind of official placement opportunities. So basically, yeah, we're working with people on getting their book closer to publishable level. And some people come out of the program where their book is ready to be sending it out. And as I say, if they've been availing themselves of those other resources that we have, they have an idea of how to go about doing that. And they, because that's there's a learning curve there too. You don't just sort of write a book and then send it to one publisher. And I mean, if you're really lucky, it might go that way. But a lot of the time, that's another step that takes quite a bit of work. And then some people come out of the program, they're not there yet, but they're working towards it. And then we also have other people. It's very common for people to come through our program more than once because they have a great experience. So they might come back the following year and continue working on the same novel. They might come back 5 years down the road and work with a different mentor on a different project. Like currently I have, I think, 5 people doing that in the fall intake. Yeah,
Many. Wow.
it's really common. So that's another thing that happens with our program is people come back.
Right. That's great. Awesome. So next I'll talk about graduate employment, and Elisa, I'll start with you. But again, your program is different.
Yes, we are so
but
different.
You are so different.
But really, I mean, David mentioned hustle, right? And hustle is a thing for writers, and also a continually sort of shifting world. But really, in the end, it does come down to that passion for storytelling and that willingness to keep at it. So I would say, as I mentioned, a great many of our students have gone on to publish. Some of them have continuing publishing careers. Some of them have had a lot of success. We have award winners. Other people go on to work in other kinds of writing work. So a lot of the areas that David has already mentioned, a lot of our people work in those areas as well. A great many writers, put together their employment from all different directions. And oftentimes one of those directions is their creative, passion project, whether that might be a collection of nature poems or a sci-fi novel or a memoir that they're writing about their childhood in, the Arctic, whatever it might be.
Great, thank you. And I think next time I'm going to be putting graduate employment and also entrepreneurship, because I think that's such a huge piece of not
Yeah.
just not just these programs, but all of our programs. So I think next time I'm going to add that piece. So David, pretend I added that piece to this
Okay, sure.
section.
Yeah, and Elisa, just to add, at least one of your graduates has gone on to teach in my program as well.
Oh, there you
Kern
go.
Carter, who's a young adult novelist, is now teaching our storytelling and narrative course actually in our program.
Yeah, that's a great example too. A great many writers and some writers come back to teach at Humber.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I actually have some numbers on this. They're a little bit dated, but the most recent numbers we have are that 80% of our students are employed mostly full-time positions after the program. But I like to point out that even that is a little bit misleading, because a lot of our students, especially if they're young and they're new and they're still kind of figuring out what they want to do, actually choose to work in freelance writing, right? So taking on contract work instead. So I guess that maybe that speaks a little bit to the entrepreneurship, right? They become self-employed in that way. Yeah, so we have a really good success rate in terms of having students find employment, and a lot of our students actually go on to work for the people that have placed them in their work placements as well. So we've seen that at a magazine like Exclaim, for example. I mentioned that student earlier who was working at Royal Bank. She had done her work placement at Royal Bank and began there. We had a student, just as another example, who started out as I forget what exactly her role was, but a very small role at Asthma Canada, and then eventually went on to become the communications manager at that program as well. Yeah, so we do have a very successful rate of employment post-program.
Perfect. Thank you. And next, let's talk about continuing studies. So where are students going after they've completed the program when it comes to maybe other programs they're taking at Humber or elsewhere, graduate studies, professional accreditations? What are they doing once they've completed the program?
Yeah, so our students, a lot of our students really want to work. That's it. But we have had students, particularly international students, I know they like to double up their postgraduate certificates. So they'll take our program and then they'll go into like UX management, or they'll go into creative advertising postgrads. So things that are related, and that just help to broaden their skills. Or often through the course of taking our program, they realize what really interests them. So we actually had a student recently who went into our Humber's creative book publishing program, because she realized that it was really in the creative world. She wasn't a creative writer, but she wanted to work in the creative world. So she went into Humber's creative book publishing program. We also have a couple pathways partnerships that I believe we share with Elisa, I think, right? At least the University of Gloucestershire, their master's in creative and critical writing offers, basically for our students, all of their coursework is accepted from our program, so they just have to complete their thesis to get their master's degree. We also have a pathway with Queen Margaret University in their I forget the exact title, but it's critical and writing and public relations, I believe is the name of it. So they get a lot of their coursework accepted as well. So we have those two direct pathways, and a number of our students have, including one right now, is at the University of Gloucestershire completing that master's program. We've had at least a half dozen over the last few years go into that program.
Great. Thank you so much. Lisa?
Yes, that pathway that we have to the master's in creative and critical writing at University of Gloucestershire is very popular with our students, and it's the same kind of idea that our students are eligible for advanced standing. So that means, yeah, just completing your thesis work in 1 year. So normally their master's is 2 years, and you're eligible to do it in 1. So that's a great pathway that we have. And that program is entirely online, although they do make clear if you want to go to Gloucestershire and live in and do it there, you can do that too. And they're open to that. And we do have people who've done that because they wanted that experience. But we have quite a few students who do that, and it seems to be growing all the time. Students are having a very good experience with that. We also have through the Humber School for Writers, we have a summer workshop And we have master classes, individual master classes. So a lot of our students do those as well. They are run through continuous professional learning. So, but there is a rebate. So if you do the graduate certificate, you can get a rebate toward the summer workshop and vice versa. So a lot of people do them together, and it's a really nice complement because it has that in-person intensive experience. So it's week-long. It's workshops with your peers in the morning, and in the afternoons there are panels and craft talks and you name it. Plus some one-on-one sessions with your workshop leaders. So that's the summer workshop is great. The master classes we run in partnership with the Toronto International Festival of Authors in the fall, and there'll usually be one offered per day of the festival, about a dozen days, and they are becoming more and more popular. And they're on all kinds of topics, everything from character development to more career-based learning to do with being a writer in the world, the writing life and writing experience. So those are great. And then, yeah, we also do have students who will go on to take other programs at Humber that David mentioned, and particularly the creative book publishing program. We've had several of our students, very often people who are into publishing are also writers and vice versa.
Perfect. Great. And Elise, I'll start with you. For your program, does it offer any specific scholarships and awards? So we know that Humber, I'm sure both programs are OSAP eligible, I believe.
Mhm.
Yes, okay. And Humber has scholarships and bursaries, but are there any specific ones to your program?
There are. We do have several specific creative writing, and they are available to the people who apply for September and the people who apply for January. There are actually a couple more in September, but there are more people who come in that intake. So it's often not twice as many, but close to twice as many students. So, and yeah, what basically you apply through the Humber portal for scholarships, and it determines what you're eligible to apply for, and you go from there.
Perfect. And David?
Yeah, we also have an entrance scholarship for each intake, and just the one for each intake. We're still small, we're around 28 students per intake. And then we do have a few graduation awards as well. We have two, one for just the student with the top grades in the class, and then also a medal for leadership in the program too.
Great. Thank you. And the next question, and I think maybe this is more of a round table instead of me asking one after the other. The next few questions are more round table. How do we stay relevant? Things are changing so much. There's AI, there's all these different things. How are we staying relevant or keeping our programs relevant enough so that when someone graduates, that they can be assured that they're going to be successful and they'll have the skills they need to be successful in this working world?
Yeah, well, I just actually had our PAC meeting, the Program Advisory Committee meeting yesterday for this program at Lakeshore. So we do work with our PAC pretty closely. Our PAC, for those students who don't know, every program at Humber has a Program Advisory Committee. They are people who work in the field. You meet with them twice a year. Just to talk about, well, whatever the program needs, right? So yesterday we were talking a lot about trends. We talked a lot about AI and about how, particularly for our students, how we can use AI as a tool to work with, how our PAC members are working with it right now as we speak, what kind of writing is being shifted into the AI realm, which still requires a lot of editing, don't get me wrong. So I think working with our PAC is a really important way of staying relevant. But also our faculty are working in the field. We do have a core group of faculty, all with writing backgrounds, a full-time faculty who work with the program, but then the majority of our faculty members are actually still working in the field currently. So they are on the front lines and they bring that back and into their classrooms.
Great. And
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, go ahead, Elisa.
No, go ahead.
No, I was
Mhm.
going to say, I think that's one of my next questions, but that's fine.
I would just echo what David said. The pack is really important. So on our pack, we have writers, some of whom are alumni of the program. So they've had that program experience. They can speak directly to that. We have agents and editors and people who work in publicity or sales or various other areas of publishing. And so they are all actively engaged with the very latest trends that are moving through publishing in Canada and internationally. And they also help us a lot with community building, right? Because a lot of writing and publishing really is grounded in community. So we talk a lot about that. And they also help us with, connections for bringing in new faculty. Sometimes, like at our last PAC meeting, we were talking about that to do with the upcoming summer workshop. And yeah, that other piece about the faculty. So I mentioned before that our group of mentors is really stellar, and it's about sort of just continually bringing in for the next intake. You think, okay, so we've got this great core, and who else can we bring on who's going to be able to meet some of the new writers who are coming in who are interested in this area or that area.
Yeah, and if I could just mention one more thing too, I just thought of this. We have recently welcomed graduates from our program onto our pack. So our program is about 8 years old, and we recently added one graduate from our first cohort and one from our second cohort now onto our pack, who've gone on to have great careers in writing.
Great. And as I said, you led into my this. And so we're going to skip this one because I think we've touched on it a fair bit already. And another question I have is, I've asked this in other panels, but do we do any research when it comes to writing here at Humber? Is this something we do?
I mean, the research that we do in our program is writing. So, for example, in March of this year, I had a novel come out. And my colleague David Bezmosgis had a collection of stories come out the year before. And if we go into the group of mentors, there are just too many to mention. They have books coming out all the time. They're shortlisted for awards all the time. They're winning awards all the time. So that's our research, really, is the writing itself.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and we don't have any specific applied research happening right now within our program. We have a course on research for journalists, but,
so there's some research happening there.
Yes. Yeah.
Great. And this is like the final slide. Any final thoughts? Maybe when it comes to the questions that I've asked, maybe there's something we didn't cover, or any way you just want to sort of basically wrap up your program, and any last thoughts you want to give to those who are watching right now, or maybe later on the recording.
I mean, I would just say if you're thinking of applying, that really put your best foot forward in terms of your writing sample. Ideally, it should be taken from the work that you hope to work on in the program, but sometimes people are applying months ahead of time, and that's not polished. But then you try to choose something from a relevant form and genre. So if you're applying to work on a novel, maybe you send a short story. So we get a sense of your fiction writing. And then that cover letter is important too. You're introducing yourself to us, and you're really, most importantly, you're telling us about the role that writing has played in your life and what writing means to you.
Great.
Yeah, I'll echo that from Lisa. That letter is really important. Tell me what it is you want to do. I think there's a lot of time where students will tell us what they have done, but they don't tell us what they want to do. And that's something that I really like to hear, because it gives me a sense of maybe of what their focus will be in the program, how seriously they'll take the program, etc. Yeah, and another final thought is just if you are here for creative writing, Elisa's program is amazing, and she's I can vouch for the mentors that she has. So if you're looking for a creative writing postgrad, I think this is the one.
Yeah, and I mean, just to be a mutual admiration society, I hear nothing but great things about David's program. Really, it's easy. Like, it's easy to be supportive of our colleagues because the programs, you just hear nothing but good things.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you both so much. I'm just going to be doing a quick overview on how, if you're watching right now, you can get started with the program, and we'll opening it up for questions a little bit later on. So thank you both. So to get started, so the first thing you would need to do is to apply. You're doing the research right now. You can apply online through ontariocolleges.ca. If you're looking to start in January, the application fee, and this is January 2024, the application fee is $110. If you are looking to start in the summer, it will also be $110. But if you're looking to start next September September 2024, it will be $125. We do suggest you apply early to the program. Some of them are quite competitive, and if you're an international applicant, you can apply through on our international website at international.humber.ca. Note that we have a limited offer going on right now of a free voucher. So if you're thinking of applying, and I'll be giving you a QR code that you can register a little bit later on. If you're thinking of applying, if you haven't applied yet and you're thinking about it, fill out that form on the QR code, and we'll see if we have vouchers that we can give so that we can help with the application fee to the program. So how do you apply? Where do you go? So one of the easiest ways I find is to actually go onto our websites. Our web pages are, I think, one of our biggest assets for our programs. And one of the things it has right here, like you will see it, like this pink button, is the Apply Now button. And when you click on that button, it actually takes you to this website, and it's on ontariocolleges.ca, and you can see there's an international application at the top, and at the bottom it's the domestic application, and that's where you would start your application. And by going through the web page of the program that you're of interest, it actually takes you to start that application, and it adds that program to your list. So a great option for you. So next steps, once you've applied, hopefully you've been accepted to the program. And as mentioned, Simran is in the chat. So if you do have any questions about the application process, maybe what's required for the program, Simran is in the chat. But once you've gotten that offer, next is to confirm, because you could get up to 5 offers, right? Maybe at least 3 at Humber if you've applied to at least 3 different programs. So you need to confirm. You need to say which one is the best option for you. Once you've confirmed, you will need to pay a deposit, and this is for domestic students. So a $250 deposit. Usually for international students, you need to pay at least one semester fee. One semester fee. One semester fee for one semester, sorry. Thank you. And then once you've done that, you can register for classes. So you're not able to register for classes until you've actually paid your tuition or figured out how you're going to pay for tuition. So that could be through OSAP, for example, for domestic students, or maybe you're looking to do, you can do a flex plan. So you're paying out of pocket, but you want more flexible options. Those payment plans are available as well. And next, that's it. So this was the last session, but if you want to, again, use this QR code, this will take you to the humber.ca/PowerUp website. The recordings are there. Most of the recordings are already on the website, but this will allow you to go back, rewatch this session if you wanted to, watch other sessions that we've run in the past. And then we also have some resources there as well. So things on financial aid, next steps, that information is on the website as well. So it's a really, really good resource for you. And finally, thank you. And this is the free voucher form that I mentioned earlier. So if you wanted to take a screen grab of it or a screenshot of it and sort of fill that form out later, again, it's on a first come, first serve basis until they run out. So again, fill that form in as quickly as possible if you haven't applied already. Okay, so that's it for us. I'm going to opening it up for questions now. If you would like to ask a question, please feel free to put it in the chat. If you would like to turn on your camera or turn on your microphone, we can make that happen. Just use the raise hand function. Simran, in the chat, if you can maybe put the admission requirements for the programs there. that would be great. And maybe any contact information. Elisa, David, feel free to add your contact information to the chat as well. You're welcome, Sarah. So obviously you can see we tried to make this session as comprehensive as possible. So sometimes there are no questions. But Thaddeus has one. So Thaddeus, let me unmute you. All right, go ahead, Thaddeus.
Sorry, hi. So Alyssa, we've spoken over email a few times, and I just had a couple of more questions about Gloucestershire, because I think we mentioned that I already been accepted into that one. So the workload, you said that it's just the thesis, or is there more to it? Because they told me it's 120 units out of 180. So it's just every other course and just the thesis I have to do now?
Yeah, I mean, that's my understanding, but really for any nitty-gritty details to do with their program, your best bet is to, I don't know if I've sent you the contact information. Have I? Because if not, I can email that to you.
Yeah, I don't recall getting the contact information.
Okay, I'll send you the contact information for our contacts at U of G, and then you can ask them directly, and you'll get the definitive answers from them. I'll send that to you when we're done here.
Thank you very much.
And what I've done, I've put the link to our Transfer Out website in the chat, and the University of Gloucestershire is listed there. There's also a lead card that we've added onto the website, so you can email them directly, and the contact should also be there. But Elisa, if you have direct contact, obviously you can provide that. And just a plug, which I forgot to do before, we are going to have our Pathways Fair again. Coming up in January. So the third week of January, I think January 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. So Thaddeus, this is your opportunity. I'm pretty sure they are on the list to be coming. So if you wanted to speak with them directly, they'll be here in January as well. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Great. Awesome. Andrea, one moment. Let me just unmute you here. Go ahead, Andrea. And you're still on mute if you're speaking. So Andrea, if you're speaking, we can't hear you, unfortunately. Okay, perfect. Okay, sorry about that. Great. And Simran, do you have any information on the requirements for the programs?
Hi, I absolutely do. So for the creative writing program, we accept a bachelor's degree, a 3-year advanced diploma, or a 2-year diploma. And along with, of course, the manuscript that Alyssa had spoken about earlier. As far as the PwC program is concerned, again, it's a bachelor's degree, an advanced diploma, or a 2-year diploma, along with a letter of intent.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, great. So Andrea asks, Elisa, do you have any additional advice, tips for choosing mentors for our list?
Yes, Andrea, thank you. So what I recommend is you can go to our webpage, the Creative Writing Graduate Certificate webpage, and you'll see there's a list. So it's a little bit tricky to find it, but it says, once you find it, you have to choose the intake, and then everybody will be there who's available. And I think reading the bios of every one of those mentors is a good idea. Most of them will link to their website from there. If one interests you, then you can easily go and read more. If you're really interested, you can even read a sample of their writing if you're not already familiar with their writing, and then see if that feels like a simpatico match for you. Perfect, right there. So you'll see there that you have to choose from that little bar there but that'll give you the whole list of everyone who's there, and you can click to learn about what kind of work they do. I would say that, sometimes people will say to me, well, I'm working on young adult fantasy. Do I need to work with somebody who works on young adult fantasy? Not at all. Many of our writers who primarily write different kinds of fiction are very well versed in, like myself, for example. I don't write young adult fantasy, but I've worked with many students who do. And really it comes down to, what's happening with your character development, how's the narrative momentum, et cetera, et cetera. So I would say, yeah, see who appeals to you, put them in order of preference. And very often, I mean, the sooner you apply, the better your chances of being matched with someone, one of your top 2 choices. However, we very often do manage to pair people with one of their top 2. That is more the norm than not, because the mentors are always coming in with different availability because they are working writers, right? So their novel just came out, they're doing a big tour, they say to me, okay, I can only do 1 student this time around. The next time they've got more time and they can take 4 students. So it may be that you come in and you've requested someone who can only do 1, and they've already, got their 1 student, but then your second person is able to take 5, and so there's availability there. So it usually works out. I hope that's helpful. Well, you're most welcome.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, well, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Risha. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Yes, thank you so much. So I'm going to end the recording now. Everyone have an amazing day. Thank you, Elisa and David, for being here with us. Great session. Every time I do these sessions, they're so informative. We learn so much, and just doing a deep dive into the programs just to see why we're so great, why our programs are so good. So thank you so much, and have a great day, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye.